Welcome to the Museum of Aquarium and Pet History. This is our second video encompassing a steampunk aquarium. Now, you're probably wondering what a steampunk aquarium is, and possibly what the steampunk movement is all about, and maybe even why I'm wearing this ridiculous outfit. Well, we can answer the first two questions, but I can't answer the third one. And I'm going to take you to a man who the Wall Street Journal says is the guru of the steampunk movement. And that person is Bruce Rosenbaum of Modvic.
Hi, I'm Bruce Rosenbaum. I'm a steampunk reimagineer, and my company is Modvic. It stands for Modern and Victorian, and I do steampunk art and design. And I had the great pleasure to work with Gary Bagnell on creating a steampunk aquarium. And most people ask, well, first, what's steampunk and what's a steampunk aquarium? So just kind of short order, steampunk really in a way is this reimagination of the Victorian period or the industrial age. And thinking that if they had our modern technology, how everything would have changed, as if the computer was invented 100 years before it actually was. And so there is this kind of movement, culture, aesthetic, art, that is this retro future looking towards the past and the future at the same time. So my company takes objects from the past, normally from the Victorian period or the industrial age, which is mid 1800s to early 1900s, and I take them and I modify them and integrate new technology to create something that fuses history plus art plus technology. And so when we came up with this idea of a steampunk aquarium, one of my inspirational authors is Jules Verne, and he's kind of considered almost like the father or the grandfather of steampunk. And because he was a visionary, and if you read some of his stories, it's incredible. It's almost like he lived in the future because of the way that he wrote and detailed some of the stories. It's almost like he had this vision of what life would be 100 years into the future. And one of his great stories that most of us know is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And that is a really incredible story of the submarine, of the Nautilus, because the submarine was not invented yet. And he was so detailed in his writings that it was decades later that there was an inventor in New Jersey who came up with the idea of the first commercially viable submarine. And guess who his inspiration was? It was Jules Verne in that book. So it's almost like science fiction can become science fact. And so when we thought about what this steampunk aquarium could be, I was going back to that story of Jules Verne's of Nemo and the Nautilus. And there is a famous scene from the book, and some people might actually know the Disney movie that was done in the 50s, where there was a big octopus, or it's called a kraken, came and attacked the Nautilus and almost killed Nemo and kind of disabled the submarine. So we said, well, the kind of the steampunk ethos is reimagination. So it's like, what if? So what if, the Nemo, who just barely survives the attack of the kraken, kind of regroups and then builds his own mechanical kraken to fight the organic kraken. So kind of in revenge to kill the kraken that almost killed him. And so we came up with this really great idea. We used a normal kind of, I forget how many gallons tank, aquarium tank, but we created this metal mechanical sculpture of an octopus, a kraken, that is like attacking the tank. Its tentacles are kind of going around it. And for the head of the kraken, there is this really wonderful glass dome. And inside the dome is Nemo in his little cockpit with the controls and all of that, kind of operating or piloting this kraken to to kill the biological kraken. And it has a lot of wonderful repurposed parts to it. We used old cogs and gears, even old aquarium tank technology, pumps, water pumps, really beautiful objects that we kind of made modern again for the sculpture. So I'm really excited about this sculpture because working with Gary has given us this ability to work with a world's expert in aquarium tanks and antique tanks, and to be displayed prominently in his museum so lots of people can see it. And I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing the fish in place and having the aquarium come alive with what we're calling the mechanical kraken. I'd like to introduce Gary Bagnell in our Steampunk Mechanical Kraken Aquarium.
Welcome back. Okay, now the introduction of the Steampunk Aquarium. So to take you through this magnificent work of art, let's start with the most prominent part, which is the octopus. Now the whole theme of the aquarium is from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Captain Nemo, the Nautilus, and you could tell, like Bruce had said, you've got the head of the octopus there, and inside of him is Nemo sitting at the control panel that's going to take the octopus and try to fight the kraken, which is the giant squid. Did you know that giant squids can get 60 feet long? I didn't even know that. I had to look it up. That's pretty incredible. But as you could see, then you go down, you see these magnificent eyes on the octopus, and then you see this metal work that Bruce has done, which is, this had to have taken hours. I mean, maybe 30 or 40 hours to do all this metal work. It just boggles my mind. So the octopus is just absolutely phenomenal. It is truly a metal work of art. Then the other piece that's on top is this piston aquarium pump. This is like a 1940s, 1950s aquarium stock company piston aquarium pump. Bruce has added these little exhaust pipes to it because they don't normally come with it. He's also added these little chocolate fish molds to it, which is really cool. When we got it, it was missing a piston, and my metal worker actually remade a piston that went to the pump. So it does actually pump air, believe it or not. And when we eventually fill the aquarium with water at some point, we still have a few more obstacles to overcome. We will have the piston pump actually pump air, and that'll be for a later date when we fill the tank up. So now if we go into the tank, you've got the flame, the underwater flame, which is under a dome that's actually silicone to the bottom of the glass. You've got a couple underwater lights in there that are on storm effect. You've got a couple of ornaments, one like a little submarine and one like a gear ratio thing, very steampunk looking. Those aren't from Bruce, those are just ornaments that I found. Then you've got a magnifying glass, very steampunkish, so you could look at, you could take it anywhere and look at a close-up of the fish, something that, Captain Nemo would have done on the Nautilus. Then, if you go down further, you could see the logo, which is an octopus, and what we've done is we've put color-changing LED lights in there that change the color of the octopus. So it's actually a very cool little effect. The tank rests on an old steamer trunk, and we actually had to cut into the back of the steamer trunk to electrify it to make sure everything would work, all the lighting and whatnot. And then once we got the tank, we noticed it needed to be a little higher, so we had Bruce make us a steampunk stand, so you could see this incredible heavy-duty wood stand with gears and everything else in the bottom of it. It really is a beautiful tank, and I think one of the reasons that we have got this tank was because of my friend Emiliano. And what happened was he had started the whole process with Bruce, and for whatever reason, decided he wanted it to go to the museum. So he contacted me, and we made arrangements for it to come here instead of going to Italy. And we had a few things to do to get it working and up and running, which we finally did. So I know Bruce is very happy. A few things, we are eventually going to put fish in it, but it's got these metal arms that go in the water, so we have to figure out how to seal those before we actually can put water in the tank. But once it's set up with fish, that'll be quite interesting. And back to Emiliano, the conversation we had was our love for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and the aquariums that were in, or the steampunk living room that was in the submarine, the Nautilus, with Captain Nemo. And we actually bid on the aquarium at one point in time that came up for auction that was on the Nautilus in the movie, the Disney movie, and we lost out. It went for a lot of money, a lot more than I thought it was going to go for. So in that conversation with Emiliano, my friend, he's like, Gary, I'm making the Steampunk Aquarium from, my own version from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And I was just amazed. I'm like, oh my God. And then he showed me the drawings, and I was like completely blown away at how intricate and how amazing the tank was. I mean, really, both those people, from the inspiration of my friend Emiliano in Italy and from Bruce, has just been, it's been crazy good. So, so what we've learned about the steampunk movement is that it's about reimagination of the Victorian period industrial age. So if you want to see some steampunk themed movies, you'd want to see, of course, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You'd want to see the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And one of my other favorites is The Time Machine, where the machine itself is very steampunkish. So that's the Steampunk Aquarium. I want to thank you for watching our second video, and don't forget, next month we're going to have the Table of Wonder and Amazing, which has dog advertising that's automated, which is pretty incredible. It has 3 of the rarest American-made bird cages, 2 by Hendrix, 1 by Oliver Lindemann. It has a Grassy Fork tank. That's a surprise. I won't tell you about it, but it's from Grassy Fork. And then it has a self-acting fountain that I also have on the table, which is something that you've got to see. It's a Victorian era, and it really runs without any mechanical thing whatsoever. So that's next month. So I want to thank you for tuning in, and again, till next time.
you.